Today we have a very special guest joining us, Marcelo Godoy. He joined Newmont in 2012, and during his tenure as VP of Resource Evaluation and Mine Planning, he developed numerous innovation programs, including a world-class ore body risk management system and SmartMine, one of Newmont's key innovation initiatives. Marcelo was appointed Newmont's Senior VP of Exploration in 2018 and has successfully integrated Goldcorp and Newmont's exploration functions to create the largest global exploration team in the gold mining industry, with an unmatched portfolio of exploration opportunities. Marcelo has extensive experience leading technical teams, improving organizational capability, and delivering value. He's a recognized thought leader in the fields of ore body modeling and mineral resource development, and we are really excited to have him join us on the rocks. Let's dive in. Well, Marcelo, thank you so much for coming on the rocks today. I know I just saw you earlier today in virtual reality, but it's great to chat with you here as well.
Yeah, great to be here.
And what are you drinking today and why?
I'm drinking an iced Arizona tea.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's middle of my working day, Emily, so unfortunately.
I'll take one for the team. What I've got today is actually it's a Florida straight bourbon by St. Augustine Distillery. Since we were doing our tour of an Australian mine this morning in Miami, I thought a Florida bourbon would be appropriate, and it's actually pretty darn good. It's made with Florida corn, right up there in St. Augustine. Again, the Florida straight bourbon. So I thought on theme for the virtual reality experience.
Sounds good.
Cheers to your iced tea.
Cheers.
So Marcelo, tell me a little bit about how Newmont ended up with such a tremendous virtual reality data set and infrastructure. Like, how did that come about?
Sure. Look, the work we do in exploration, Emily, makes intense use of 3D modeling and visualization, as you know. So we had been monitoring advances in VR technology for quite a few years. We already knew for a fact, through advanced visualization, you can have key insights regarding ore body morphology, structural setting, mineralization controls. So we start investigating virtual reality when the technology became more accessible, actually. That was in 2016 when consumer VR headsets became widely available here in the US. So we had two main hypotheses we wanted to test at the time. First, that VR could be used to illustrate big data and leverage our brain's perception of scale that we cannot replicate on 2D screens. Second, that we could cost-effectively deploy open source software across Newmont. And you have experienced yourself this morning. VR provides a unique way for us to interact with our drilling data, geological models, mine designs. And in addition, VR allows us to go into places and have perspectives that are physically impossible to access in the real world. So I guess summarizing, at Newmont, we believe that the ability to visualize huge amounts of data at real-world scale really enhances our ability to recognize mineralization patterns and therefore make better exploration decisions. So at the time, the traditional mining software providers were not really interested in including VR into their development roadmaps. So we decided to partner with Kitware to bring this technology into a place where it could be effectively used for exploration, mining, etc. So Kitware develops ParaView, an open source, multi-platform, high-performance data analysis and visualization software. And our partnership has been going for 5 years. A lot of work has been going into the system we had actually, and it's open source. So any of your listeners here can go and download ParaView and experience virtual reality in their models.
That's really cool. And I would imagine that you learned a lot of lessons along the way and had a few surprises as you started working with this new technology.
Absolutely. And one of the things that has surprised us about this journey was how much data we have at Newmont. With 100 years of history, we have so much data in our archives, it's really hard to put your head around it. We've been digitizing paper-based information for the last 16 years, non-stop. So the material has been scanned, run through OCR, and geo-referenced. The good news is that this job is about to end, to finish. The other interesting learning is that the data analytics offerings out there are still very, very basic. There is a general lack of understanding about the problems that are specific to mining and exploration. And I think it's a steep learning curve for technology companies. I believe subject matter experts need to be leading this digital transformation. Otherwise, we're just not going to move forward.
Yeah, because there's a big difference in building a really cool tool, software, gizmo, whatever it is, and building one that's actually useful for the people that need it to work. I mean, one of the things I was struck by, and our listeners will hear when they're hearing or watching the VR tour, is the immense potential of virtual reality as a collaboration tool. And just in the nature of this industry, where, especially over the last year and a half, you have people geographically distributed, where now you can get the best minds in the mine for whatever you're looking at, no matter where they are.
Absolutely. So the latest development, which we are very excited about, and that you had the opportunity to experience earlier today, is the multiplayer functionality. It allows multiple geoscientists to enter into this collaborative VR section where they can interact and work together, interrogating the model, reviewing key features, inspecting drill plans and drill core, identifying new target areas for drilling, and so much more. So the technology allows managers, subject matter experts, and project geologists to interact in this virtual environment, which vastly reduces travel time and costs as well. So collaboration in VR is quick and easy, and it's much easier and more effective to organize an underground tour in VR than in one of our operations. Last year, we developed a safety training program in VR with Immersive Technologies, a company based in Perth, which allows our geos and technicians to understand hazardous situations around drill rigs without leaving the safety of their office. So when they go to the field after the training, they have the knowledge to identify and rectify hazards to ensure critical controls are effective. And that's a very effective way of training our geologists.
I would say from a safety perspective, it was pretty neat to drive from where I live in kind of the Fort Lauderdale area down to a Miami office to get a tour of a mine in Australia and do it in heels, right? The only mine tour I've ever been able to do without putting on a whole lot of reflective and lots of boots and everything. So I think it's a different mind shift also in terms of accessibility for shareholders, for stakeholders. And I know you see a lot of potential. Maybe it's not at people's fingertips right now, but the potential is there for people to be able to go and see inside of the deposit, inside of the mine, where their money is being put at work, right?
Absolutely. VR has proven to be a very powerful communication tool to showcase operations or projects in operations to stakeholders like investors, analysts, and board members. We first demonstrated the functionality to our board in 2016 as part of the full funds approval of the Subika Underground project. So before approving that project, board members had the opportunity to walk through the project and understand the infrastructure and all the requirements to get the mine going. Then soon after that, at the BMO conference in 2017, we led analysts and investors through tour of our mines. And since then, we have taken a lot of people in VR tours of our mines and hopefully inspired some of the next generation to pursue a career in exploration and mining. We believe that visualization technology can facilitate transparency and communication with stakeholders. That's because it makes accurate data readily accessible. And important factors for mining, such as continuity of demineralization, can be easily conveyed in a 3D model. And unless you are a geostatistician, Emily, it's not very straightforward to access mineralization continuity from a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Well, and even in attending a lot of virtual mining conferences over the last year and a half, even just hearing presentations, right? Because there is a difference, even if you're listening to a person like yourself or Richard giving the tour, you're looking at the data yourself. It just gives a different level of trust as opposed to looking at a PowerPoint slide, maybe with analysis and just one view, right? Where you're inherently wondering, well, what else is there? What can I see? When you're allowed to basically go in and play around in the rocks and see everything. I mean, what they'll see in the tour is the drilling results, the infrastructure, the stopes, the seismic stuff you guys have done. It's all available for people to see. And I think that really does build trust, even if people don't understand all of the technical stuff that they're looking at. The fact that you're making it available means you want them to look at it and trust what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, look, in additional to that, we have a huge opportunity here to use the technology for community engagement. Where community members can have a much better understanding about the mining project's infrastructure and the controls that are going to be in place to prevent environmental and social impact. So you can give those community members VR tours of the project, and that will definitely provide another level of understanding about what's going to happen.
Absolutely. If you could, wave a magic wand and have technology facilitate something new that you can't do right now in this VR space, what would it be? What would you make happen tomorrow?
That's a hard one, Emily, because we can do anything we want in VR. The developer that works with us in Kitware, Ken Martin, is a wizard. There has been nothing so far that we have not thought of that they were not able to implement. So I do believe that the limit here is our imagination. If you think about the technology that I want to see, and perhaps it could be a real-time feed into VR, I would like to measure grade as we drill. That's the next technological advancement that's going to really change how we explore and where and how fast we can explore.
Awesome. And I would really recommend to folks that they listen through to the end, because you provide some really good insight onto why exploration is a really good buy within Newmont, right? And how efficient you are with your exploration money and what that looks like when it comes to getting gold out of the ground. And I could only imagine if you could do something like that, what that would look like as well. Well, cheers to your iced tea, Marcelo, and thanks for joining us on the rocks and coming up next in the rocks with the virtual reality tour. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our guest and my colleague Marcelo Godoy for joining us on this episode of On the Rocks. To learn more about Marcelo and Newmont, visit newmont.com and check them out on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. For more about Prospector, go to prospectorportal.com or check us out on Instagram at ProspectorAI and LinkedIn at ProspectorPortal. Thanks for joining us on the rocks. Until next time, keep your glasses full and your ice cold. Cheers.